She is Kylan Mills, and she's eating Jack in the Box, folks. That's right. I'm Cyrus Saatsaz. This is Locked On Warriors.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You can follow Kylan Mills on all social media platforms at her name. It's super easy, Kylan Mills. You can follow me on Threads at Dog Wild. That's also my handle for Instagram. Kylan, great to see you. How are you doing? And I want to start off by saying congratulations. You are now with, we can now formally talk about this publicly. You're with NBC Sports Bay Area. You're currently hosting the pre and post game shows for Oakland A's broadcast. How is that experience going, and how are you?
Hey, great to see you, Cyrus. Yeah, it's been awesome. On A's broadcast on NBC Sports California, the California Bay Area family, awesome. Everyone's been super welcoming. So I'm super excited. This was just my second day. So, still trying to get into the swing of everything, but like literally best crew ever there. It's been so much fun. So I've been really excited. But I just got done doing pre and post today for the A's. So that is why I have a chicken sandwich with me, is because I worked all day and had not eaten. And I ordered DoorDash when I got home, and I'm literally starving. So apologies for being mid-bite when we started the show, but I had to get a couple of quick bites in. And by the way, it's a chicken sandwich from Jack in the Box. It's not bad. I never had it. It was just like the cheapest, closest thing to order. And I was just like, screw it. I'm just going to whatever at this point. I'm hungry.
And Kylan,
great to see you. And we're going to keep it fun. We're going to keep it light. It's the off season, but we still got stuff to talk about. Okay. Sorry. One more bite.
No, you're good. Take your bite. I just want to let people know on that note, you are one of the hardest working people I know. And you are proof. And I tell my students this as a professor, and I tell any young aspiring sports media professional this. Hard work pays off in this industry. It pays off in most industries, but especially in this industry. If you think you can half-ass it, you have no chance in hell. You have to grind. And sometimes you have to grind for decades. I mean, you just have to say yes to everything. And so you're doing it right. Congrats.
Thank you.
Yeah, all
and
good
that's
there.
All good advice. And I'm glad that you're one of the people who's leading the future of journalism and teaching youngsters, because that's the right message. At the end of the day, it's a grind. You have to sacrifice a ton, and you have to work hard to move up in your career. So, but yeah, I'm really excited to be joining them, and it's been fun bringing some entertainment to A's baseball. But Warrior season's right around the corner, and I am very excited about that. I mean, we're getting closer. We're getting closer. The offseason has felt long. It's felt slow since the Warriors got eliminated, during the Western Conference semifinals. So it's felt a little bit longer this year, and because it has been, and I'm ready for the season to come. Absolutely.
Genji Gok, by the way, is writing that the chicken sandwich is pretty good, but avoid the crazy sauces. So there you go. That's some advice for Jeff if you're consuming.
First couple bites were actually pretty good from what I just tried. It wasn't bad. So not a bad choice.
Are Jack in the Box tacos still good? I remember that being in my 20s when I was crazy and doing all sorts of fun stuff. That was a staple of my diet. Not proud of it, but 2 a.m. Jack in the Box tacos were a staple. Are those still good? Have you tried one lately or no?
I have. So like I said, there's one that's right by our house, which is why it's just like a convenience factor that it's like a half mile away. Every now and again, when we need like a fast food fix or we're just in a hurry, we'll pick it up. And Charlie always does the tacos, and I've had them. They're still good. They're good. They're those like little small. They've got the bigger tacos. They also have the mini tacos. That's what I like.
Oh, I haven't even tried that yet.
They have little mini ones. They're so cute.
We could talk about that all day. Look, the NBA offseason is rough when it comes to hosting a show like this. So 5 minutes in, we're still talking about the Jack in the Box. That's sometimes how it goes. Nonetheless, there is some basketball action. There are Pro-Am tournaments. Kate Jackson, by the way, says you seem like the coolest. What does PR mean? I don't know what that means, but person. Yeah, agreed. So I agree. I agree with that sentiment. So Jonathan Kuminga played in his first Pro-Am ever. And, he scored 60 points. He had 6 assists. He had 5 rebounds. Pro-Ams are not something you should like look that close into. It's an exhibition game. It's much more similar to an all-star game in terms of the level of defensive intensity. Everyone's playing offense. Everyone wants to light it up. But defense, I don't know how serious they're taking it. But still, 60 points is 60 points. And he's 20 years old. I don't think we can gloss over that enough. He's 20. He's still not old enough to buy beer. And he doesn't turn 21 until October. He was incredibly young just for a player in his draft class. He really should have been in the following draft. I'm excited about him. You know my adage, and it's actually in my bio on Threads, which is great things happen when Kuminga plays. I love the kid. I love his attitude. I think if he's given a serious run this year, we're going to see some amazing things. What is your reaction? I mean, I don't know if you saw the highlights. I don't know if you saw any of it.
Yeah.
He looked good. He's looked good all offseason. I'm seeing all of his workout videos from his 3-city tour. I love Kuminga. I want me Kuminga. What are your thoughts on Jonathan Kuminga, Kylan?
I think it's great to see the way Kuminga is performing at the Pro-Am up in Seattle. He looks electric. Like you mentioned, like that's not necessarily like a great litmus test for what we're going to see in the NBA season, but still it's really positive to see him. The most important thing to me, though, about what I've seen from him is that he looks like he has the joy back. He looks like he has that love of the game back, because that was what was unusual about the way he finished out the season. For whatever reason, he was completely out of the rotation in the postseason, which I know he didn't start the postseason great, and he wasn't great in the series against the Kings, but I wanted him to get another chance when the Warriors face the Lakers, especially with what they were dealing with, in terms of trying to defend AD, trying to shut down, what the Lakers were doing in terms of their front court and size. I wanted him to get another chance. He never did. And then it just kind of seemed like there was a little bit of tension. And Jonathan Kuminga made those comments to the Chronicle about being a little bit frustrated about not being in the rotation. There was some criticism surrounding that. You could see it in his body language. He was hanging his head. He shoulder slumped. Like you can just read the way the players are acting in the huddle, on the bench. And to me, there was a noticeable difference that Jonathan Kuminga was not carrying himself well when dealing with that type of adversity. So I'm happy to see him back and just looking like he's enjoying himself. He's loving the game. And hopefully he carries that into the Warriors season, in addition to a little bit more maturity should a situation arise again where he's not in the rotation and getting the time that he wants to get. The other big thing about what we've seen from Jonathan Kuminga in the offseason is something that you mentioned, the workout videos. To me, it looks like Jonathan Kuminga has been spending a ton of time in the gym. He has been lifting. He has been working on strength, conditioning, speed, explosiveness. There have been a lot of videos that have come out on his Instagram stories, pages, different trainers he's been working with, and he looks like he is putting in major work in the gym. And that's exactly what the Warriors needed from him in this offseason. That's exactly what he needed to do. That's how you respond to ending a season in a disappointing way. Amidst a lot of criticism, go in, put your head down, and put in the work. And there's been some criticism of whether or not Jonathan Kuminga is really willing to do that. And to me, he's trying to put his money where his mouth is to prove that in some of his actions. So I hope that he comes out and looks great when the Warriors finally get together for preseason, because I'm very encouraged by what we've seen in the videos that have popped up on social media. Will it translate to when he gets back with the Warriors? We'll have to see. But I mean, I don't know about you, but like he has looked very fit and looks like he is putting in the work. So that's encouraging.
Totally. He looks, I mean, someone asked about his height. He's listed as 6'8".
Oh, stop. Are we gonna talk about how he's 7 foot now?
Well, someone just brought it up, like what his height was. No. I can't believe how many people fell for that.
That's so funny that's like a running gag now, that like people like to say that Jonathan Kuminga grew to 6 feet. Okay, sorry.
Absolutely. It's a ridiculous guy. Yeah. And a few people ran with it. No, he's 6'8". That's what his listed height is. Same as Paul George. That's really the player, right? Let me ask you this, Kylan, and real quick, I want to go through these chats first just because they're topical. Sean Stanley writes, if Kuminga takes that year 3 leap, the Warriors can possibly win it all this coming season. I totally agree with you. To me, like the fortunes of the Warriors this year hinder so largely on Kuminga and how well he plays. I'm totally with you. David Sass writes, I don't know where you heard this trade proposal. I would not believe it. Of Alex Caruso of the Bulls for Kuminga and Corey Joseph. I would not buy that. I don't know where you heard it from. But let me ask you this, because there's been a lot of attention when it comes to Jonathan Kuminga, and we'll come back for your answer, Kylan. But there's been, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, but I think there's an unfair focus on his rebounding. Like, for example, the 5 rebounds he grabbed in the Pro-Am. There were a few people out there that actually complained and said that wasn't enough. I don't see Jonathan Kuminga. I know I agree with people's sentiments that if he wants to find playing time, he's going to have to grab rebounds. He's going to have to play more like a power forward. I don't see him, though, as that type of player. To me, he's more of a swing. When I see him, again, I really see a Paul George type player. People have brought up Kawhi Leonard. I don't know if there's that similar, in all honesty, but in terms of impact, I do hope the similarities there. But in terms of the types of players they are, I do think they're different. I think Kuminga's a lot more like Paul George. Like, he's gotten faster. That's one thing I've noticed with his workout videos this offseason. I'm seeing speed, like his indecisiveness, his slow dribbling. That's been replaced with like quick action, with just hyper speed handles. He's got a crossover that I don't remember seeing a year ago. But when we come back, what I want to ask you, Kylan, and I'm curious to know about your opinion is it fair to expect Jonathan Kuminga to play like this power forward, like to have these rebounding numbers when maybe that's not who he is? I don't know. And this is where I want to get your opinion when we come back, and maybe from the chat as well. Got to give some love first to FanDuel, the official sports book of the Locked On Podcast Network. They got an overlay here. Let me grab that real fast. I always mess that up. There we go. Football season's here. Oh my God. Like, I mean, the Niners had their first exhibition game. This Trey Lance thing is out of control. Real fast, Kylan, like, what are your thoughts on Trey Lance? Like, do you think he's unfairly criticized? Do you think that the criticism is about right? What are your thoughts on that? Because I feel like that's what everyone's talking about right now.
I don't know that criticism is necessarily fair because there hasn't been a true evaluation period for Trey Lance. So I don't think the criticism of him is fair. I think the criticism of the 49ers organization is fair because the fact that there still is a quarterback saga being discussed for the last 4 straight seasons is ridiculous. I mean, Trey Lance was supposed to be the guy, and that's why they traded up for that pick. And the fact of the matter is, now we've got Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, who is the player that all of the 49ers hopes and dreams ride on this season. Everything I'm hearing from training camp, and I have a lot of friends who've been covering it, I've been out and around the sports scene, I haven't specifically been at it, is that Brock Purdy is who this team has full faith and confidence in. He's supposedly ahead of schedule in terms of his recovery, and he's looked really good. And the fact of the matter is, the 49ers traded up for Trey Lance, and he's not going to be the starter. That to me is a big disappointment. But like for him individually, I don't think it's necessarily fair criticism. He's dealt with injuries. He's never really had the full faith of the organization to be the starter for a lengthy period of time.
Right.
I put a little bit of blame in terms of how the injury happened on the organization as well, with him being run up the middle so early in a game when it didn't need to happen.
Yes.
That's always a play that's going to result in a lot of contact. So anyways, we can go on and on about that. I am very excited to see, though, what happens with the Warriors, with the 49ers season and the Warriors season. But with football being around the corner, FanDuel is definitely the place to go.
Absolutely. There's so much to bet on with FanDuel, and I totally agree with everything you said there. Football season is about to kick off, folks. It's weeks away, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to win all season long because right now when you bet on a Super Bowl winner, you can get bonus bets every time they win in the regular season. You just pick any team to win the Super Bowl, and you'll get bonus bets for every victory. You can use your bonus bets on spreads, player props, over-unders, and much more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. Kylan, when Kevin Dana was on the show a couple weeks ago, he brought up the fact that folks in states like California where FanDuel is illegal, you might be able to use that VPN action and circumvent those restrictions, folks. I'm not advocating for anyone to break the law. I'm just pointing out what might be an option for you. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. Start earning those bonus bets again with America's #1 sports book. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. For the everydayers, I'm still waiting on confirmation for that Warriors assistant coach. Apparently, this individual was on vacation. So now hopefully Raymond Ritter will come through, and that'll be an upcoming guest. And next week, one of my heroes in broadcasting growing up. Hero is a strong word. I'm being a little facetious there, but I don't know if you're familiar, Kylan, with Scotty Farrell. He's been on Sirius XM for decades. He was on KNBR in the 90s. I remember my friends and I in high school calling his show up just so he could do one of his bits, which was the sound effect of a beer being cracked open. If you really liked your take, you'd hear like a 6-pack or 12-pack. And then he introduced the keg. Anyways, if you're a juvenile like me, immature in high school, you love these segments. And then he ended up getting hired by Howard Stern, and he's still on Sirius XM to this day. So Scotty Farrell is going to join the program next week. Are you familiar with him? Like, do you know anything about him, Kylan?
Seen him in passing, but don't know a ton.
Yeah,
but
he's old school. He's a little old school, but he's got this super raspy voice. I love him personally. So he's going to be on the guest on the program next week. Follow the program on Twitter while Twitter still exists at Locked On Dubs.
Yeah, wait a second. You mean X? It's X
on
now.
X at Twix. Twix. Yeah, on Twix. I'm sorry. To get all that information.
I'm still calling it Twitter. I'm with you.
I'm gonna start calling it Twix, I guess.
Twix. I love
Twix.
That. We'll call it Twix.
So to answer the question, is it fair or unfair, Kylan? And by the way, folks, you can follow Kylan Mills on all social media platforms at Kylan Mills. Is it fair or unfair to put like front court pressure on Jonathan Kuminga? Like if he doesn't grab 10 rebounds a game, is that a negative? Is that a reason to criticize him? What are your thoughts on Kuminga's expectations?
So I think that Kuminga is more of a small forward. I think that he is more comparable to playing a 3 or 4, but I don't think he's a power forward. I agree with you on that. What I will say, though, is that I don't think that rebounding is 100% dependent on the position you're playing or even on your size. There were multiple times this season where Steph Curry led the Warriors in rebounding, which isn't necessarily a great reflection of the Warriors, but at the same time, he was just doing a good job of being in the right place, getting into the spots, beating his man, reading the angle when the ball's coming off the, hoop, anticipation. Like those are all things that also players can do to be proactive in trying to bring in boards, even if they're not a power forward, a center, or a player who is really, really big. So I kind of have a two-sided answer to your question. No, I don't think that he's best as a power forward. I totally agree with you in terms of expectations for him to rebound. Like, I do still think he needs to pull his weight in terms of the rebounding, whether he's playing a small forward position, whether he's playing a 3, like even if the Warriors aren't the biggest team in the NBA, they have to have players who are going to be fighting for boards and like still hustling and doing the other things that you could do outside of size that you have control over to try to bring in rebounds. During the regular season, there definitely were times where he could have and should have maybe put up better numbers, but I just think, the positives that he's bringing outweigh that to where like, it's not a huge concern for me, but like, yeah, something for him to be mindful of going into the season. But like, I don't know that it's necessarily fair that he's going to be expected to be like this power forward who's going to be leading the team in rebounding every night. No, like, yes, he needs to make a conscious effort of it. Could he maybe do a little bit better job? Yeah, but I also think it's a team thing because the Warriors, once again, are not going to be the biggest team in the NBA, and they're going to have to make up for it, in some way, shape, and form. And they're going to have to figure out ways to try to bring in boards. They can't get beat up every night and win games.
Absolutely. I'm totally with you. What is, so in the chat here, one of our everydayers, Andre FRBK, writes, if Jonathan Kuminga can't rebound 8+ a game, I don't like him. 8 rebounds a game is a lot. Last year, his per 36, meaning his average stats if he played 36 minutes a game, had him grabbing over 6 rebounds a game. I think it was like at 6.1. Do you have a measurable in mind, like a number in mind that for Kuminga to reach on an average on a night-by-night basis that would make you happy? Like, is 5 enough, 6 enough? Is there a number in mind for you?
Yeah, if he was at over 6 per game, which I actually didn't know, that to me is good. Like that's an average that I'm okay with. I'm happy with. 7, I guess to me, 7 maybe is measurable. I think 8's getting a little bit high. But I do have a question to flip back at you, Cyrus, that someone asked in the chat a little bit earlier. And I really, really wanted to ask you because this has been a talking point we've both addressed. Someone asked, is Steve Kerr going to do Jonathan Kuminga right, though, this year? And is he going to be fair in the opportunities he gives him? And that's a big part of the equation in terms of Jonathan Kuminga's development in year 3 is how is he going to be treated by this coaching staff? What opportunities is he going to get? Have they been doing everything they can to develop him? That's what I'm going to toss at you.
Well, I'll say this. If Steve Kerr continues the act of of this short leash. Like, I don't think the Warriors are winning the title. I look at this roster, and the deficiencies that they have, to me, are filled with Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody getting a legitimate run. And when we say legitimate run, look, positions 1 through 5, each one has to fill up 48 minutes a night, right? So Kuminga, I think Kerr has to figure out a way to get Kuminga and Moody guaranteed night by night 20 to 25 minutes at least. Now, whether or not they're going to do that, I do have a little faith in Kerr. I was actually in the post-game interviews, I was actually really pleased and elated that Kerr said the right things when it came to Kuminga. I don't know if you remember that soundbite, and I'll try to pull that up for the next show, where Kerr came out and said, in response to Kuminga publicly complaining about his lack of role in the postseason and the limited minutes, Kerr's response was awesome. He said that he liked the fact that Kuminga was frustrated. He likes having his players want to play more and contribute more. He actually spun Kuminga's complaints in a positive light, and that could have gone in any different direction. I mean, Kerr has not acted that way with every player. In fact, one player who's going to be trying out either this week or next is Juan Toscano-Anderson, who actually was on the roster for the 2022 World Championship team. And I have a theory, a little conspiracy-ish, on why he has to try out when he was already a regular member of the team in the championship year. And it has to do with Kerr's reaction to people expressing publicly complaints about the role of the team. The way he handled Kuminga, I think, showed me that Kerr recognizes this team is going to need him this year. They're going to need his athleticism, his size. There's no one else on the roster like him. I think Chris Paul could service himself tremendously for this team if he actually leads Kuminga and, to a lesser extent, Moody. So a lot of this is wishful thinking, but based on what I've heard from Kerr, and look, I've never once accused Kerr of being an idiot. I mean, he's an incredibly smart individual. He clearly knows his hoops. I just think he last year he made a major blunder by relying so much on these two-way players and not on the youngsters that were there ready to go. So I'm hoping he is smart enough to not repeat the mistake he made last year. And I hope that answers that question. Did it? I don't know.
That did. That totally did.
So
fascinating to see.
Oh, absolutely. Majorly fascinating. Totally. And again, so, and Douglas Mike's here real fast. Do you have a preference, by the way? And I'll reveal my Juan Toscano-Anderson theory while we're on this topic real fast. But Douglas Mike's writes, Harry Giles III on a two-way deal, Juan Toscano-Anderson or Glenn Robinson III. Glenn Robinson III, by the way, told me directly today that he has been in San Francisco working out, but he could not be specific in terms of whether or not it was for the Warriors. But I agree. I would love Glenn Robinson III. And you can aggregate that, folks, by the way, if you want. That actually happened. So I would love Glenn Robinson III on the Warriors. I'd love him back. I think Harry Giles brings up a lot of potential with that size that he has. Injuries have taken a lot away from his career. Do you want to hear the Juan Toscano theory, the conspiracy, and then you can tell me?
You gotta come in hot with a conspiracy theory right now.
All right. So I thought it was weird.
Other stuff. That's what we want to hear.
So I thought it was weird, and I don't know if you thought it was weird, but when Shams Charania reported, and no one contradicted him, that the Warriors are going to try out 6 players, and it might actually be 7 with Glenn Robinson III in these next 2 weeks. The players included Harry Giles III, Alec Burks, which was kind of weird. Dion Waiters, another really weird one. You had some guards in there. The Juan Toscano-Anderson, did it seem, I guess before we go into this, did it seem weird to you that he has to try out for the team? I mean, that stuck out to me a little bit. Did that stick out to you at all? That was weird to me. I don't know, because he was a consistent member, a player. Like, he was getting a good run on this roster, and they won a title, and now he's trying out. Like, is that weird to you? I don't know. I guess before I continue on, I'm curious to know if you think that's weird or if that's perfectly normal.
I think it's odd. I for sure think it's odd. I mean, JTA was, whether or not he played a lot of minutes consistently night in, night out, was a big part of the Warriors championship team in 21-22. I mean, the bottom line is that the chemistry was one of the most important parts of that team. We saw it. It was very evident in the way the Warriors fell apart in 22-23 when the season started off on a very different foot in things that I'm not going to name. But, I think that Juan Toscano-Anderson brought a lot in terms of, you know, what you were going to get out of him as one of the players who's maybe, you know, lower down the roster, you know, outside the rotation. When he did get in, you were going to get 100%. You were going to get hustle. He's probably going to go out there and bang some guys up and get called for a couple fouls. He's going to run down rebounds. He's going to make the hustle plays. He was very consistent in terms of what he can do and what you could expect from him. And then he brought that heart and energy that made that championship team so special. He is Oakland through and through. Could not be more proud of being from the East Bay. Fit the chemistry piece, fit the build, brought the professionalism that the Warriors expect, an extremely high class and high character person, you know, and I just think it is strange. It does stand out to me about why he would have to try out when the Warriors, to me, he's one of the most consistent players in terms of what the Warriors got that season. Like, totally. Yeah, he was lower in the rotation for a reason, but like, to me, he was very consistent in what you could expect versus like a Damian Lee would come out and like be lights out one night, and then another night this man couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat, and you'd be like, what is going on here? And like sometimes he would look like a cone on defense, other times he wouldn't look as bad. Like, I don't know, I just feel like the consistency, you always got 110% from JTA. He would always bring in a couple boards, making a couple hustle plays, and he was a guy that you could look to be that chemistry piece, to be hyping his teammates up and doing all the other intangible things that you look for. So why make him try out? He hasn't been gone for that long. The Warriors know what kind of player he is. Like, I don't think anything has changed personally. Like, I don't think JTA's game has suddenly changed. Like, I don't.
I'm totally with you. So here's my conspiracy theory, and it could be totally off base. I'm basing this on nothing except my own observation skills, if you call them skills. What my guess is that there was a weird moment in 2022 when Juan Toscano-Anderson, in an interview, and I don't know why this stuck out to me, but it did. He came out and said, you know, I could be playing for other teams and be playing a lot more minutes, but you know, I'm on the Warriors, so I'm making the sacrifice of not playing as many minutes, sometimes sitting out every night. And obviously, I'm paraphrasing. These are not his exact words. I'll try to find the clip actually, but he basically, in essence, said that he's making sacrifices being on the Warriors when he could be playing a lot more if he was on another team. And it was a weird quote. It was a little egotistical. And the reason why it sticks out to me is because usually when other players say that, and that's why Kuminga, I'm a little surprised he survived publicly complaining about his role in the postseason, because Quindary Weatherspoon, for example, he was a huge reason he's not with the team anymore, is because he publicly came out and said he thinks he deserves a guaranteed deal. And I've had sources tell me this, that the team did not like that. And I don't know if it meant Bob Myers, Kerr, whoever it was. They did not like him saying that, and suddenly he was gone. And Juan Toscano-Anderson says this, and part of me does wonder if this is them kind of telling him, shut your mouth, like be grateful that you're here, and stop telling the media that you could be playing more if you were someone else. I could be totally wrong, but I just remember very vividly that soundbite of JTA saying that and thinking to myself, wow, like this, like, you know, like he really thinks highly of himself. And it didn't sound awful or anything, but I don't know. That is my theory. Totally conspiracy-ish. Could be wrong. Your thoughts on that?
Wait, so when did he say that? That's what I want to know.
Middle of the championship season. It was the middle of the title run. It was somewhere in the middle. I will find that cut. I'll try to find it today, actually.
We might have to dig that up, because that's so interesting. Just because, you know, I was covering the team in person day in and day out. And whenever we heard from JTA, he seemed very humble and like the opposite of that. He would talk about like how much it means to him to be a Mexican-American representing in the NBA, which, you know, is something that he, you know, is very unique. And it's something he was very proud of. He would come in and talk about his struggles and, you know, how hard he battled because he played overseas in Mexico. You know, he played in the G League, about, you know, how difficult it was for him to climb up and make an NBA roster, how special it was to him, how much it meant to him. So it's very interesting that I guess apparently the flip switched pretty quickly after he got that guaranteed spot from the Warriors, that all of a sudden now, well, I could be playing more minutes if I were on another team. It's not in his character of the way that he typically acted, at least not initially getting signed by the team. Always seemed very humble, very grateful, is a player who grinded to get here, was, you know, started at the bottom. And so I think that's very surprising. Now, in regards to your conspiracy theory, is it possible? Yeah, they're sending him a message. I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, I'm gonna see
Possible.
if I can find that cut during today's show. That'll help a lot. But this might be it right here. But I got a commercial running right now in terms of the clip I'm looking at. Yeah, if I can find it, I'll let you know, because I remember when he said it seemed totally out of character. And I also remember thinking to himself, like how is the coaching staff going to take this? That's my conspiracy, is that the team is trying. That could be totally wrong on it. This is us filling time in the middle of the offseason, but who knows? Maybe the team is like, you know what? You really do think that? Try out for the team and earn your way back. Because otherwise, it's bizarre to me that he's trying out with Dion Waiters. Like, you're gonna put JTA, who was on your championship team, on the same level as Dion Waiters and Alec Burks. It's bizarre to me. It's just off. But I don't know. Anyways, Dario, do you want to move on from the topic? Anything you want to add?
Yeah. No, that's
all good. Okay,
that's all I got.
So Dario Šarić was undoubtedly the team's big offseason free agent acquisition, right? I actually think Šarić is going to be more important for this team than Chris Paul, in all honesty. But he's playing in, I believe these are the Olympic qualifiers, if I'm not mistaken. Let me find where I got the stat from and see if it mentions that. Yeah, these are the Olympic pre-qualifying group play. And so Dario Šarić, and he's playing alongside Zubac. I think he's playing for Serbia. In a game against the Netherlands, put up 13 points, put up 6 rebounds, had 12 assists. He also had 3 steals. He was a plus 11 in terms of his net rating. The clips that I saw of him, and this is courtesy of the Dario Šarić Muse Twix account. What are your thoughts? I mean, I don't know if you had a chance to see the clips. He played almost like a point guard at times, like he was running the floor. I loved it. I mean, it was poetry to me in terms of a basketball clip. I don't know if you had a chance to see it, but what was your reaction to that?
I was very impressed. I think his vision and passing is the thing that stands out. I saw a couple of clips where he was, delivering no-look passes beautifully for a big. That's an impressive skill set that not all bigs have. And you mentioned him being able to run the floor, something that Draymond's also able to do. But I think that versatility is a huge advantage in the Warriors offense, specifically because it's very free flowing. It's something you and I have talked about a lot, where there doesn't necessarily need to be a, defined point guard in a traditional sense. Yes, in certain circumstances, but if you have a big who can deliver like that, who can pass, it's a motion offense, there's a lot going on. I think it's going to be a major asset. So that was the thing that stood out to me, was the vision, the technique on the passing, no looks in a couple of clips. So I think all of that is very, very positive and would work well with what the Warriors have going on right now.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. I am super, super excited with the Dario Šarić signing. Real quick, by the way, I might have found the clip. I don't know if this is it. I've not been able to screen this because we're recording this live right now. I'll give this one shot. This might be the clip, though, of Juan Toscano Anderson complaining publicly about, or I don't know if complaining is the right word, but take a watch. This is courtesy of your new employer, Kylan, NBC Sports Bay Area. He was answering a question during a post-game press conference regarding his reduced role. This was during the championship season.
To the Knicks in the third, fourth quarter.
I think the only difficult part is just having the desire to play. I love this game. This is my life right here. I put so much effort and, emotion into this game, so I just always want to play. But at the end of the day, I'm an adult and I'm understanding of what my job and what my role is on this team. So, and I'm accepting of that. I could sit here and pout about it, but what good is that going to do? And it's all about perspective, man. I was telling Connor earlier, it's just about perspective, man. I could be anywhere else in the world. I could be on any other team. I could be on a losing team. I could be back in the G League. But I'm on the best team in the NBA, my hometown team. I get to play with Hall of Famers. It's perspective, man. So, I want to play more, of course. Everybody wants to play. But at the end of the day, as a grown man, you got to wake up and do your job. And that's what my job is. My job is to get my team a spark off the bench, and whenever I'm needed and my number's called, I got to perform. So just staying ready, man. That's not difficult at all. I've been through tougher stuff in my life, so perspective.
Perspective is huge. So it was not exactly what I was saying. He didn't really say that he could play more in other teams, but he was complaining. He didn't seem really happy. Do you think that clip led to him trying out instead of being on the team this year?
No, I don't think so at all. Having heard the clip, now to me, like, no player who's competitive is going to say, yeah, I enjoy, having a minimized role and only playing a couple of minutes a night and not even getting into any game. Like no competitor who's made it to the professional level is going to say, yeah, I love doing that. I didn't think that he was whining. I think that he approached it in a professional way. Talking about how he knows his role. And to me, he pointed out the fact that the team is winning versus the fact that he could be on, losing teams or teams that are struggling, just to point out that he is aware and recognizing how fortunate he is to be in the situation of being on a championship caliber team, which they would end up becoming, the NBA champions that season. But I don't think that it was whining. I don't think that it was, in any way, shape, or form criticizing the organization or his playing time. So to me, that doesn't seem like enough for him to, now to possibly, along with your conspiracy theory, for the organization to be trying to send him a message by making him try out because, he had made comments. Hearing the comments now word for word, I don't think there was anything there.
Yeah, but again, I didn't think there was anything there when Quinndary Weatherspoon said what he said. I honestly didn't think there was much there when Kuminga said what he said.
And you know what? Yeah, the Quinndary Weatherspoon thing is also really interesting. So you said a source told you that because of his comments that's why they didn't end up signing him?
Yes, exactly. There was one clip because he was going to be on his fourth two-way deal, and that's the max amount. And I think it was after a summer league game or something like that. And he basically came out and said that he thinks he's deserving of a guaranteed deal. I'll see if I can find that soundbite as well. So yeah, there you go. So maybe my conspiracy has nothing to it. You never know. There you go. That's welcome to summer.
I still think it's weird that JTA is having to try out. I do not think that comment could possibly be the reason, but who knows what the actual reason is, because I don't have a better guess because I do think he thought.
Yeah, it's just weird. It is weird. What are your thoughts on this summer? Yeah, and Greg King, I do totally agree with you there, by the way, in terms of rebounding, that it is much harder to grab rebounds when you're defending the perimeter, and that is a lot of what Kuminga does. Andre, by the way, is asking who's going to win out in the tryout. I forgot to mention Kent Bazemore is one of the players as well. I've been thinking about it. Like, my preference, I think, is by a very slim margin, Harry Giles III. Just because he is a freak of nature athletically. Injuries have been the reason why he hasn't played, and why he's available right now, in all honesty. But I would have zero complaints if Juan Toscano-Anderson got that roster spot as well. He can rebound. He was at times playing center on that championship team. He knows the system. It would be a very smooth transition for him. In terms of chemistry, people were complaining last year the bench didn't look like they were having fun. He would change that. So I have no objection if Juan Toscano-Anderson gets that role. But Harry Giles is, if you get the best version of Harry Giles III, that is like a 6'11" athletic freak who is showing he can shoot three now. I think his career three-point percentage is not great. It's like 33%. They've always expected more of him. But nonetheless, that's my thoughts on it. What do you think?
To me, I would like to see Juan Toscano-Anderson come back. Like, that's actually the number one player when I saw the list and the rumors about who was going to be trying out and whatnot. To me, it's just the culture fit and the chemistry piece are super important. Something was off last season. And I don't think bringing a guy like that back is a bad thing. You mentioned he brings the rebounding. He can play defense. The fact that he even played the small ball five is kind of ridiculous, but I just think that just hearing that clip reminded me of how professional he is and how well he fit in with this Warriors team. Not a player that's ever going to pout on the bench, always brought just elite energy. And I think that there's something to be said for that when you don't know what you're going to get with some of these other players. Yeah. I do think, though, that Kent Bazemore would make me laugh because Kent Bazemore took a lot of crap from Dub Nation, and when I saw him on that list to try out again, I was like, "Oh no, people are gonna lose their minds."
Oh
If
no.
Kent Bazemore comes back. Oh no! But to me, I mean, and then JTA brings size, which I think is a good thing at this point. Down lower on the bench, why not at least add a little bit of depth in terms of a player who can rebound or play the four. If he's healthy, we should at least give him a two-way. I mean, I don't see why not.
I'm with you. Yeah, I'm with you. If Juan Toscano-Anderson comes back, I'm perfectly fine with that. Yeah, Ken Bazemore, I'm reading all the criticism in the chat. Get it. Makes no sense. He is Stephen Curry's close friend. I mean, I don't know if that factors into this. It is a little weird, though, that he's getting a tryout. Shifting gears, Kylan, if you're ready to move on from this topic real fast. It looks like we're going to go an hour, so we got 20 more minutes here. If that works for you, Kylan, thank you so much.
Yeah.
In the news recently, it was revealed that Bob Myers, the former general manager and president of basketball operations for the Golden State Warriors, was hired by ESPN. He's going to be part of the Countdown crew. I personally love this for a lot of reasons. Chief among them, I don't feel like Stephen Curry has enough advocates for him in the media. When I say media, let's be more specific and say the two giants, ESPN and TNT. Stephen A. Smith was on Paul George's podcast recently, and this is why I'm thinking of this right now. First of all, congrats to Bob Myers for getting that gig. It sounds like a fun opportunity now that he's no longer running the Warriors. But Andre, for example, you're right. I don't want to hear what Bob has to say right now, but he's going to be a Steph Curry advocate. I mean, he's a voice supporting the Golden State Warriors star player. So, and the reason why I bring this up and why I think it's a little more important than you might think initially is because of this clip from again, this is from the Podcast P show. This is Paul George's podcast. Stephen A. Smith was on there, and he has this story about Rich Paul. Rich Paul manages Clutch, the sports agency. He's LeBron James's childhood friend. And I thought this was fascinating, and we'll get into this in just a moment. Here is Stephen A. Smith on his experience with Rich Paul.
You see what I'm saying? You got LeBron. He used to drive me crazy with this. And that's why I came up with the tick on television. When I said, great dad, great husband, great director, great actor, great businessman. I did all of that. I said, did I miss anything? Did I miss anything? Because I got him as the second best player in the history of basketball. I got him ahead of Kareem. I got him behind no one but Jordan. And I said to Mr. Chirper himself, Rich Paul, my boy, and I said, you act like that's an insult. This dude, it is an insult. I said, get the fuck out of my face. Get the fuck out of my face. This is exactly what I said to him. I don't want to talk to you no more. You can't talk to me about it. When you going to treat me like I'm disrespecting a man by calling him in the history of the game that started in 1947, you're going to tell me that I am disrespecting a man by having him number 2 all the time. You have lost your damn mind. I'm not talking to you. And so what I'm saying is this. You got cats that want the lofty accolades. They want to be renowned for this. And they want to be recognized as that. But LeBron, and you know this, you're going to start laughing when I say this, because he's done this before. LeBron. Because I'm the best in the world. During the finals. Remember that? He's playing goes, I'm the best in the world, which he was. You know, that's how he felt, blah, blah, blah. They lose. Another year, wasn't the same series. Another year. I'm just trying to be best father that I could be and, be a good role model. God damn it, nobody's talking about that, man. You know good and damn well we talking about that damn jump shot you were shooting where you shot 2 for 10. Stop it. We nobody's questioning your character. You didn't ball that day. You didn't ball. Why you gonna go there? You trying to be slick. You're damn right he did it. And it's like you're trying to be slick. Can we stick to ball, please? Nobody questioned your character. Nobody sat up there and said you're a scourge of the earth. You're not a role model. We don't love you. We don't care about you. Yo, you fucked up. You played bad that day. You'll play good tomorrow, but you play bad.
All right. And what really came out, the reason why I played that clip largely is because of just how many people in the media are advocates for LeBron James. I mean, he has so many people in his corner. And I didn't realize like how much Rich Paul behind the scenes pushes this narrative that LeBron James is the greatest ever. Side note, I'll have this debate on another show all day, every day. Michael Jordan, to me, I don't think it's even a debate. I think it's ridiculous that LeBron is uttered in the same conversation with Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan was at a level that no one has ever touched. And again, that's a debate for another show. But my point is, Rich Paul is out there giving people grief if they don't say that LeBron James is the GOAT. That's crazy. So that's why I'm happy that Bob Myers is now part of the ESPN crew. So there's someone, at least one person, who is in Steph's corner. Kylan, your thoughts?
I'm excited to see what Bob brings. I think he is a guy who has been really informative, enjoyable to listen to when he was up on the podium, speaking of as the Warriors GM. He clearly knows the game inside and out. Great basketball mind, good evaluator in terms of talent, helped get the Warriors to, the point they're at today with this last dynasty, winning so many championships. So I'm very excited to see what his takes are on the rest of the NBA, because we've really only heard from Bob on a podium as the, Warriors GM, giving his, I don't want to say like politically correct takes, but yeah, politically correct takes. You can only say so much as a general manager. Like, you can't be critical. You can't, I know he was oftentimes very positive, but you have to massage things in a certain way when you're speaking to the media about players within your own organization. So I'm very excited to see what more of his unfiltered comments are about not just the Warriors, but teams and players across the NBA, because I think he's clearly a great evaluator, very good in terms of the analytics as well, which is what helped get the Warriors to the point they're at today. And I'm excited to see what his takes are. As far as Steph Curry needing an advocate, I mean, I just don't think that across the board he gets as much credit as he deserves from national media, from not like one or two networks, not like pointing or singling anyone out. I just feel like Steph Curry isn't necessarily regarded and isn't as, isn't as celebrated as he should be. I don't really know why or what it is, but I think it'll be exciting to see. I think that it's definitely going to shine a new light on Steph Curry to have Bob Myers out there in the media. And he's someone who knows Steph extremely well, knows all the work he puts in behind the scenes. And, I think that he could shed a different light on not just Steph Curry as a player, as a person, why he's one of the most incredible athletes and leaders of this generation. So I'm very excited to see his takes on Steph, but I'm also excited to see just everything else that Bob brings, because we're going to be getting more of an unfiltered Bob. So I think that's going to be really cool.
I'm totally with you. I don't think any of us have any idea what to expect. There was that one famous clip of Bob Myers when he was at this annual conference he used to go to at MIT, talking about the difference between regular season and postseason play. That was really eye-opening to me. He shared nuance of the game that
I know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we played it on the show before. I'll play it again on another day if anyone's interested. But anyway, so I'm very curious to see how Bob Myers fits in with that crew. Malika Andrews is also now leading the NBA Countdown crew, replacing what's his name? I'm brain farting right now. Mike, I don't know, whatever. The longtime dude who hosts the morning show on ESPN. What are your thoughts, by the way? I'm going to read this real fast, Kylan. Shifting gears, there is a mid-season or in-season tournament now in the NBA. Do you have any? Before we get into the specifics of it, are you for it or against it?
Or against the mid-season tournament?
Yeah. Or maybe you don't have a.
So I don't love it. Like, I just don't see why these kinds of things are necessary. But it's something that's happening across sports. Like, this isn't just the NBA that's doing this mid-season tournament stuff. It's something the MLS just implemented. It's something that you see a lot in overseas sports. And like I said, soccer specifically, there's all kinds of mid-season tournaments, international competitions going on, which I think is just bizarre. I'm not a huge fan. So I just,
yeah.
I don't know. I'm not super excited about it. I don't know. What do you think?
I think a lot of people are going to wait and see, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm kind of like wait and see. Maybe I'll love it. Maybe I'll be swayed. Like, I feel like it's unnecessary, but maybe it'll be really cool and awesome. I don't know.
Yeah, I I wish there was a bigger prize for the winning team. I mean,
Yeah.
the players get, I think, $500,000 each, which is no small change. I mean, especially if you're an end of the bench guy, that's a nice sum of money. But I do wish there was a reward, like maybe a first round pick. Maybe you get like a number 15 pick goes to the winner. Maybe you get an extra 20 million in salary cap relief. Something. I don't know. I would have liked that, but at least the cool thing is, for me, that the game is going to count, or the games are going to count in terms of the regular season. And I think it's transparent in terms of why they're doing this. The NBA goes through a slog in November, December. Like, nobody's really that into it until Christmas Day. That's like the unofficial opening day for the NBA, even though at that point it's been going on for nearly 2 months. So this is something to drum up interest. The winner of this thing will get the NBA Cup, which is the in-season tournament trophy. But I'll read this. I'll read these 2 paragraphs for everyone, so you have kind of a better understanding in terms of what to expect. Because the schedule has been released. So 8 teams are going to advance to the playoffs of this tournament, right? You basically have like 6 groups, and the Warriors are in group, I don't know, it's just a letter I think they're giving to each of these groups. The teams in the Warriors group include the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Minnesota Timberwolves, the Sacramento Kings, and the San Antonio Spurs. So we're going to see Wembanyama come to Chase Center as part of that. And so out of these 4 games that the Warriors and everyone else will play, the Warriors are going to play the Thunder, Timberwolves, Spurs, and Kings. 8 teams will advance out of these 6 groups, and they're going to have 2 wild cards into the knockout rounds. And these are going to be single elimination games. And then from there, they're going to compete for a prize pool. That's $500,000 each, and the trophy, the NBA Cup. And all the 22 teams that don't advance into the tournament are going to be assigned 2 regular season games, 1 home and 1 away, that are going to be played in early December. The actual NBA schedule, the full schedule, is going to be released tomorrow. We're recording this on August 16th right now. So I don't know how well I describe the tournament, but that's what it comes down to. It's just, it's going to count toward the regular season, which I think is awesome. So the stats are going to count. These games will matter in that regard. Any last thoughts on that, Kylan, before we...
No, I agree that I just feel like the incentives are a big part of the problem. Like, what is the motivation for players to compete and want to win this tournament? And what's going to stop them from load managing? And it's something that you see a couple people point out in the chat as well. They do this a lot in Europe. So like, I get it. But like, for example, in soccer, they have some midseason tournaments, and some teams choose to just rest all of their starters, all of their stars, the guys they don't want to put too many miles on the legs, especially like a team like the Warriors, for example, where a lot of the players are older. Like, what's to stop teams from using this as an opportunity to just, throw out whoever, get their guys some rest, and, at the end of the day, like, what's the major motivation to win the whole cup? You're muted. You're muted. Cyrus, you're muted.
No, you're good. Thank you for that. Sorry. Thanks for letting me know. So just wanted to finish up, just let people know what this in-season tournament entails. It's going to be 4 games within the, thank you for Sean Stanley in the chat for pointing this out. It's Group C West. That's where the Warriors are in. There's nothing flashy about the name of their group, but so, and then each group will have the best team advance to the tournament. There will be 2 wild card teams, so 2 second place teams will also advance. Or I guess maybe it could be 1 third place team in there as well. So that's the in-season tournament.
I like your idea of throwing a draft pick in the mix. I think that's smart. Something like that like adds a little bit extra. Another idea, someone said it in the comments that I liked, that was like they should play games on neutral sites. Okay,
yeah.
So Douglas Mike suggested that. I actually love that idea. I love the idea of playing on neutral sites. I love the idea of the games being played in non-NBA markets, because I think that would be fascinating. Like,
I do like that.
Okay, I don't even know what non-NBA markets are anymore, but like throwing them into college town, throwing them into a Louisville. I don't know. I'm just thinking of random cities.
Oh, totally. Yeah, Spokane, Washington.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. People would go nuts. People would go nuts. like, hey, we're having this neutral site in, I don't know. Maybe I'm getting too crazy with this one. But I think neutral sites are a good idea, but I've been like taking it a step further and playing in like non-NBA markets and like seeing if they get, some excitement and in cities that don't have NBA, they may be thirsty for, professional basketball to come to their backyard. They may be dying to see professionals play. So I don't know. I would like to see them shake up something with it a little bit. Whether it be better incentives or something a little different. So, someone pointed out the legacy piece that, oh, hey, well, now you can say you've won this and, and if a team goes on to win the NBA championship, that, just kind of furthers the resume. Like, I get that, but is that interesting enough to make people want to watch during a time where, like you mentioned, people aren't particularly interested in the NBA in that like November, December leading into Christmas Day? Like,
yeah, no, I'm totally with you. But it's a hard time of year when all the focus on Aaron Rodgers getting crushed because of a weak offensive line, or Trey Lance, right on the heels of Brock. Yeah, the whole narrative in sports is football until January, so or even February. So no, I'm totally. I hear you on that. It is marketing. That's what this is. It's marketing.
Hi, Bubs.
Oh, yeah. We just got a few more minutes here. I want to play this soundbite.
He's not a fan. Bubs is not a fan of the midseason tournament.
He's not a fan at all. Absolutely not. He is
also someone. Richard Sarpong just mentioned too. They could guarantee a playoff spot to the winner of the in-season tournament. Instead of doing a play-in in one of the, I don't know if that would work. Instead of one of the play-in spots, like, give that to the winner of the in-season. I don't know. I'm just saying.
No, I hear what you're saying. The incentive there should be more of an incentive. I totally, I'm with you. Look, this is marketing at its finest. The NBA just came up with something that's going to maybe draw interest. It's something for them to hype in November and early December. So, David Sass, Albuquerque, Mobile, Alabama. I mean, we can come up with a million names.
Dude, I'm being serious. Like, I think that would be fun to see, like, some of these NBA teams go to random cities that just don't have basketball to play in collegiate arena.
Absolutely. No, I'm totally with you. Yeah. And this is probably ideas that'll come in future years for this tournament. I want to quickly play this clip because it's been all over the news. And by the way, actually, before they play this clip, one other thing real fast. I looked up Paul George's stats because I feel like it would be fair in terms of rebounding to I feel like Paul George is a good barometer, right? Like Paul George is the same height as Jonathan Kuminga. They seem to have the same physical stature. Both players are lean. They play almost more like guards than they do like, low post type bigs. Paul George, for his career, is averaging 6.4 rebounds per game. In year 3 of his career, his average went up from 5.6 to 7.6. And his best rebounding year, he averaged 8.2 rebounds per game. Just this last season, he averaged 6.1. So Kuminga could grab more. I like 6. I like 6. Like, is that a good number? 6 and above, and we're happy?
Yeah, I felt like 6 and above is okay. I think 8 is a reach. But I think he definitely should be in the 6 to 8 range for sure.
I'm totally with you. So there you go. All right. So I think that's fair. I'm just trying to find a fair number for Jonathan Kuminga so that whether or not we should be criticizing his rebounding efforts. But so 6. All right. I think that's fair. I like that. I want to play this clip real fast of James Harden just because he's been in the news. This clip has been absolutely riveting for a lot of reasons. You rarely hear NBA players just publicly call out their team leadership.
This is wild.
It is absolutely wild. So this was James Harden in China. He was at this camp. The individuals in the camp were allowed to ask questions, and then one of the questions asked pertained to Harden and the fact that he's probably going to stay in Philadelphia because they couldn't find a trade partner. So here is Harden's response to that, and it's gold.
Daryl Morey is a liar. And I will never be a part of an organization that he's a part of. Let me say that again. Daryl Morey is a liar, and I will never be a part of an organization that he's a part of.
He's like, let me say that again. He repeated that. He wanted everyone to be crystal clear in terms of what he was trying to say. I absolutely love it. To me, like take who James Harden is out of the equation. All right. To me, the focus of this should be a player whose nickname is Dork Elvis. His real name is Daryl Morey. He's the GM of the Philadelphia 76ers. I consider him to be the most overrated general manager in this game. I've never understood the hype. To me, an over-reliance on analytics is just basketball is the wrong sport for that. You find any dominant special player out there, and I guarantee you did not need statistics to know that. Like the eye test is very valuable in basketball. I don't know if you could say the same thing about baseball, football. I think it depends. But in basketball, to me, stats are they just don't carry a lot of weight. I think they complement, they help. But if you're using stats to construct a roster, you're not going to succeed. You're not. You might come close. He came close with the Rockets, but he didn't actually succeed. What are your thoughts on this whole scenario? It's crazy to me. We'll finish the show with this.
Mind blown by the whole scenario. When I saw that clip come out, I was just like trying not to laugh because it is just such an odd setting for James Harden to make those statements about Morey. I mean, it's just, he's at a camp, and I know he was asked about it, but you still can use a filter. You don't have to go off like that. Like, I could just imagine being in that room and everyone's just like, what?
Like, what? What?
I mean, it's just, to me, this is a major failure. I mean, everything that I've been reading and talking to even people that I know that are Sixers fans is they're just disgusted with what's happened in Philadelphia. Joel Embiid has just, it's been a major disservice to him and the talent that he has. And, I just think it's unfortunate the way that everything has shaken out. I mean, it's not new for a star player like this to be, discontent, but like for him to be that public about it, James Harden, it has to be bad. In my opinion, it has to be bad.
Absolutely.
I don't know. Like I said, I feel for Joel Embiid because this is a team that should have won a championship with him, to me, and they just haven't been able to figure it out.
Yeah, it's an absolute mess. I'm very fascinated to see what Joel Embiid does long term here with Philly. I agree with everyone saying it wasn't professional. It wasn't.
No, it's not. It's not professional. That's what I'm saying. You're asked about it. You don't have to give that answer. Like, that may be the truth, and that may be what you think, but to like say that, I just.
Oh my God,
what is happening? But like I said, I assume it must be bad. Whatever is happening, it must be bad. And honestly, it's still unclear to me exactly like what went wrong.
Oh, I can tell you that. So basically, what happened basically here is that James Harden opted in to this $35 million player extension, right? It was the final year of his contract. He didn't have to. It was a bleak free agent market.
Yep.
So he opts in, asks for a trade. The team apparently says yes. And this is where I point the finger at Daryl Morey, because who would ever want to make a trade with this guy when all he does is publicly say he's the smartest guy in the room? Every trade that is involved with him, he's trying to swindle the opposition. No one would in their right mind would ever want to make a trade with Daryl Morey. So he's put himself in this box where other GMs look at him and go, nah, that guy's going to try to rip me off. No, thank you. And so he can't make any trades. Like it's that where he's going to get back something of equal or close to equal value. So there's no James Harden trade market out there. I mean, the Clippers wanted him. There was supposedly a deal on the table there, and they can't trade him. They decide they want to keep him. James Harden did not sign a max extension last year because the contract he ended up signing was cap friendly, so they could bring in PJ Tucker so that they could try to win a championship. Supposedly there was a verbal agreement there where James Harden and Daryl Morey made a deal verbally. It wasn't on paper, that Harden was going to get a max extension after last season. And I don't know what happened there. I think that's where things went south is the 76ers changed their mind on that. They decided, you're not really worth extended max money. You're 34 years old. We saw what you did in the playoffs last year. You no-show for half these games, and we're just not going to give it to you. And I think, and that's where James Harden is really pissed off. I think he got promised money that he didn't get, so he publicly gripes about it. and they're now in the mess they're in. Kylan, go into your sandwich. You've been doing this.
I did just read something though, kind of different than that, about when reading about the whole situation as to what led to, his frustration coming out of the camp and calling Morey a liar, was that he opted into the last year of his contract, but it was on the condition that the Sixers trade him to the Los Angeles Clippers. And that's what he's mad about.
I don't know. Maybe I haven't heard that part of it, but I think he just wants to get traded and they won't trade him.
Yeah.
And he's pissed because he's pissed first that he didn't get the max extension. So then he's like, all right, I'll opt into this last year of my contract. And then please trade me to someone and I'll get a new deal there. And they're not going to trade him now. So,
Sports Illustrated reported NBA insider gives update on James Harden, wanting a trade to the Clippers. So I think specifically he wanted to go to the Clippers, and apparently that ain't happening.
No, because the Clippers supposedly won't include like these extra players that Philly wants. And so Daryl Morey is like, nope, I'm not doing this trade. And
I read that was the condition though of him signing, which means, you're making promises that you're not keeping, if that are the case, from whatever is being reported by various sources.
Exactly.
And then not getting the max extension, obviously, like you said, there's a lot at play, but it was that just, you think you've seen it all, and then you see something and you're like, huh.
Exactly. It's just a mess. It's an absolute mess.
A total mess.
The Warriors are not in that mess, thank goodness. Douglas Mikes also brings up how Kristaps Porzingis. I don't remember anyone really clamoring per se for Porzingis, but I do remember people when they saw that trade thinking, what are the Warriors going to do here, right? And look, since then they got Dario Šarić. I'm perfectly happy with them. Like Kristaps Porzingis, I never really was like, I don't think anyone was begging for him. But anyways, Douglas Mikes brings up the fact that Kristaps Porzingis has an injury that is a nuisance. It's plantar fasciitis. You've had that before too, right?
Yeah,
Kylan?
super painful, awful.
It is, and I don't think
it's
there's
hard
any
to get rid of.
It's hard to It's hard to get rid of. It's almost like that injury is on its own timetable. It might take 6 months, could take a month, could take a year. That's a brutal injury. So the Celtics now have to deal with that. You're absolutely right. But I don't remember if the Warriors anyone was really clamoring for Porzingis per se. But I hear you in the sense that right now, on this date, August 16th, the Warriors have no serious injuries to worry about. So that's a good thing. We'll take that. We'll take that positive news. Go enjoy your sandwich, Kylan. Thank you so much for doing an hour with me. Thank you, everyone. Any final words? Any final thoughts? Did we forget anything?
No. I did get a taco though. So someone mentioned the tacos from Jack in the Box. So I actually did. I forgot. I was looking at my bag. I got a taco with my sandwich. So
just one?
Know how it is.
It's a single taco?
Yeah, just one.
That's all lonely in there. Well, you gotta go hang out.
I didn't want to get a side of fries. I feel like fries are worse than a taco, but I'm also starving, so I didn't eat all day. Anyways, no one cares about any of this. It was great to see you, Cy. Good to catch up. Off-season rolls on.
Absolutely.
Warriors are inching closer to showing up for, preseason. There's videos of Klay Thompson looks good. That's another guy.
Yes.
Posting workouts, also posted his typical, vitamin C post that I feel like he does every single summer where he's out in an ocean and on a boat and whatever. So hopefully he comes back refreshed. Jonathan Kuminga, I think, looks good. Another guy we didn't talk about is GP2, played a little bit in the Pro-Am up in Seattle. He looked bouncy in the clips. He looked more like old GP2, which is what we're excited to see. So it's all good in the hood.
Yes, it is. And Shaquille O'Neal was performing at Outside Lands, and during his performance, Gary Payton II was up there. I don't know if he was rapping with them, but he's certainly dancing up there with them. And Shaq during the performance,
it was such a vibe.
It was a vibe. And Shaq predicting the Warriors will win the title this year. I always respect Shaq's predictions. He gets it right a lot. Charles Barkley, no, not so much. But Shaquille O'Neal gets it right a lot. So if he's predicting the Warriors to win the whole thing, that's a good thing. It's a good piece of news. I like that. Yeah, good stuff. Are we done? Are we out?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Kylan. And we'll be back at this soon. Follow the program on Twitter at Locked On Dubs. That's where we let people know what's coming up. So make sure you track us there. Follow Kylan Mills on all social media platforms at Kylan Mills. Follow me on Threads at Dog Wild. Bye-bye, everyone. It was fun, as always. Bye, Kylan.
See ya. Later. Always got to go out and stop.